Welcome to NewsBriefs. Okay, let's jump right in. First up, some major policy shifts happening in the U.S. President Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act back on July 4th.
Right. And it's a very broad piece of legislation. We're seeing significant tax cuts, for one, plus a lot more funding for border security, immigration control, and an extra $150 billion for defense.
It's a lot packed in, and the immediate effect.
Well, the national debt ceiling had to be raised by about $5 trillion.
$5 trillion, wow. Okay, but it wasn't just spending, right? There were cuts, too.
Exactly. This is where you really see the shift in priorities. New work requirements for SNAP, the Food Assistance Program, and actual cuts to social programs like Medicaid. Plus, and this is a big one, eliminating tax credits for clean energy and subsidies for electric vehicles.
So really pulling back on those green initiatives and social safety nets.
It definitely looks that way. A kind of fundamental refocusing of government priorities, you could say.
Okay, staying domestic but shifting focus. Los Angeles. MacArthur Park, July 7th. There was a big federal and military operation.
Yeah, quite a scene. Reports mention around 90 National Guard, dozens of federal agents.
Tactical vehicles, too, right?
Yeah.
Humvees, ambulances.
Armed soldiers, snipers, even agents on horseback. It's pretty unusual to see that level of force deployed in a civilian area like MacArthur Park, especially given its history with the Latino community.
And the outcome was surprising, wasn't it?
Very. Despite that huge show of force lasting about an hour, no reported arrests.
No arrests. Local officials reacted pretty strongly, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely. The LA mayor called it chaos provoked by the administration, a total assault. And the California governor labeled it a disgrace.
So what's the context here? This wasn't completely out of the blue.
No, it followed a presidential order back in June to deploy troops, which the governor opposed. There's actually an ongoing lawsuit about that right now. So this is, part of a bigger state versus federal power struggle.
Right. A lot of tension there. Okay, let's turn to global conflicts now. First, the Middle East. The Iran-Israel situation.
Yeah, grim news there. Iran is reporting at least 160 deaths, possibly more.
And they're starting to admit to damage.
They are, gradually, acknowledging damage to air defenses, military bases, even nuclear sites after that 12-day Israeli attack. That admission itself is pretty significant. It tells you something about the intensity of the offensive.
And meanwhile, in Gaza.
Yeah.
More tragic incidents.
Yes. In the north, 5 Israeli soldiers were killed, 14 injured during an evacuation. Explosives, gunfire involved.
And in the south and center.
4 killed in Khan Yunis, down south. And in Nuseirat, central Gaza, 10 died and 72 were injured.
Just devastating numbers. And access to aid is still a huge problem.
A massive problem. The Al-Zaytun clinic, for instance, had to close because of nearby bombardments.
Yeah.
It just highlights the extreme difficulty of providing medical care or even just basic safety in these zones.
Okay, let's shift focus to Eastern Europe, Russia and Ukraine.
More attacks reported. Russian bombardments in Kherson's Korabylny district damaged buildings, power lines. Also a drone attack on a civilian car there.
And Kharkiv.
Drone strikes there too. At least 1 person killed, 71 injured. Reports say residential buildings, a kindergarten, and significantly, a military recruitment office were hit.
That seems to be a pattern now, doesn't it, targeting recruitment centers?
It does. Similar reports from Zaporizhia and Kremenchuk. The thinking seems to be it's an attempt by Russia to, slow down Ukrainian mobilization efforts.
Make it harder for them to get troops to the front.
Exactly. And there was also another reported drone death in Odessa. It points towards a strategy of attrition, maybe, trying to deplete Ukraine's ability to sustain its defense long term.
Okay, let's broaden out again to international diplomacy and economics.
Yeah.
President Trump met with Netanyahu at the White House yesterday, July 7th.
That's right. And a major and highly controversial topic was discussed. A plan to, quote, expel thousands of Palestinians from Gaza.
Expel? How are they framing that?
Well, the language is careful. Netanyahu talked about finding countries for voluntary departures. Trump claimed great cooperation of neighboring countries.
Voluntary departures.
Yeah.
That sounds problematic in a conflict zone.
It raises huge ethical and practical questions, absolutely, especially with no confirmation from those supposed cooperating neighbors.
And there was an odd side note, too, about a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, reportedly Netanyahu nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize for achieving a ceasefire, though nothing official on that yet.
Okay. And then another big announcement from Trump yesterday about Ukraine aid.
Yes, a reversal, actually. He announced the U.S. is resuming defensive weapons shipments to Ukraine.
Which the Pentagon had just paused last week.
Exactly. The Pentagon confirmed it includes things like Patriot missiles, guided artillery, Hellfire missiles, key defensive capabilities.
Any reason given for the change?
Well, sources noted Trump mentioned disappointment with Putin during his talk with Netanyahu, so perhaps a signal there, a shift in stance.
Interesting. Okay, shifting to global economics. The BRICS summit just wrapped up in Rio on July 6th, and it's bigger now.
Much bigger. The original members, plus Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Indonesia, the UAE.
What are their stated goals?
Pretty ambitious to challenge the unipolar system, basically, and remodel the global economic architecture with more South-South cooperation.
And they made a statement about trade policy.
A very pointed one. Their joint declaration condemned unilateral protectionist measures and unjustified and indiscriminate increase of tariffs. It's widely seen as a direct jab at U.S. policies.
So they're positioning themselves as an alternative bloc.
Clearly, and they welcomed Indonesia as a full member, plus a whole list of new partner countries: Belarus, Bolivia, Kazakhstan, Cuba, Nigeria, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, Uganda, Uzbekistan.
Wow, that's quite the list.
It is. India's finance minister was also holding meetings to strengthen ties within the bloc. It really signals a push towards a more multipolar world, economically and politically.
And speaking of tariffs, President Trump made his stance clear today.
It's very clear. Posted on Truth Social. Tariffs will begin to be paid August 1st, 2025. No extensions will be granted.
So doubling down. Aftermarkets maybe didn't take the initial demands seriously.
Seems that way. This leaves no room for doubt. The administration appears set on enforcing these tariffs on that date. It'll be interesting to see the market reaction now.
Okay, let's cover some other major news. First, an environmental story, but it's a deeply tragic one. The floods in Texas Hill Country.
Just devastating updates. The death toll is now confirmed at 108, with at least 24 people still missing.
Oh, that's awful. Where were the worst impacts?
Kendall County was hit hardest. 87 fatalities reported there, including 56 adults and 28 children.
And deaths in other counties, too.
Yes. Travis County saw 7 deaths, Kendall 6, Burnett 5, Williamson 2, and Tom Green 1. And that tragic situation at Camp Mystic. 5 girls died there, part of 27 deaths among campers and staff.
Just heartbreaking. What caused such severe flooding?
Extremely heavy rain between 5 and 11 inches fell between July 4th and 7th. That caused the Guadalupe River to rise incredibly rapidly. Remnants of Tropical Storm Barry played a role, too.
It feels like we hear about these extreme rain events more often now.
Well, while you can't link any single event definitively, the increasing frequency and intensity of this kind of catastrophic flooding, it is consistent with climate change projections for many areas. It's a sobering reminder of vulnerabilities.
Okay, let's try and end on some slightly lighter notes. Sports.
Yep. FIFA Club World Cup semifinal today. Fluminense versus Chelsea at noon local time.
Chelsea got through a tough match earlier.
They did beat Palmeiras 2-1, thanks to an own goal, actually. Key players to watch are Chelsea's Pedro Neto. He's the top scorer with 3 goals, and midfielder Cole Palmer.
And for Fluminense?
Look out for Hercules. He's got 2 goals, and their winger, Sean Arias. Should be a good game.
All right. And some entertainment news. Comic-Con panel announced.
Yeah, for the Toxic Avenger remake. Cineverse is bringing director Macon Blair, the legendary Lloyd Kaufman from Troma, plus actors Peter Dinklage, Elijah Wood, Jacob Tremblay, and Taylor Page. That's July 24th.
Quite the lineup. And the movie's out soon?
August 29th, theatrically. And lots of other movies actually premiere today, July 8th.
Oh, yeah. Anything notable?
A whole slew. Oblium, Pretty Thing, Dora and the Search for Sol Dorado, Sweet, Great White Waters, Strange Harvest, My Mother's Wedding, I for E, Primitive War, Running Man, Whisper. So, plenty of choice if you're heading to the cinema.
And finally, something free and fun.
A free screening of Wonder Woman on July 11th. It's at Chester Frost Park in Hickson, Tennessee.
Sounds like a nice evening out. Okay, so we've covered a huge amount today. U.S. policy shifts, global conflicts, big economic realignments, the Texas tragedy, and even some sports and movies.
We really have. And when you step back, you see how interconnected it all is. These policy changes in one country ripple outwards, conflicts impact global stability, economic blocks shift power dynamics. It affects everything, right down to, well, potentially your wallet or energy choices.
Absolutely. Highlights how fast things are changing. So maybe the thought to leave you with is this. With so much happening and so many different angles presented, how do we best make sense of it all for ourselves? How do we understand the real impact these big decisions by leaders and nations have, not just on the headlines, but on our own lives? Thanks for joining us today as we unpack these events. Keep asking questions, keep exploring. We'll be back soon to look at what's happening next.